Okay, today's video is going to be a bit of a background on me a little bit, and if you've watched it's going to be titled, "You Have a Purpose and a Plan God Has for You, whether you realize it or not." Okay? This is going to be sharing some personal things that have happened in my life. I have other videos where I've mentioned a few of these things here and there, and I mentioned it in my testimony. If you watch those videos, you have a pretty good idea, and of who I am and my history. But this is to help somebody know that they are valued. So, as many of you may know, or not if you're new, years ago, I found out this truth by being told by my mother and stuff, but this is how the enemy targets you, okay? And I read, Bible, and it popped up in my head, and I was just reading it, but I knew you before you were born. I knit you together in your mother's womb. And it's like I knew you before you were born. Basically, God knit us together, and He knew us before we were born. Why does that, resonate with me so much, and why it's important to me is because I wasn't supposed to be here. Okay? And some of you may wonder, what's that mean? Well, when my mother was younger, like I said, she went to the doctors, as she did, because she was, she found out she was pregnant, and the doctor basically said to my mother at the time, convinced her that I was going to be born with disabilities, mental problems. I was going to be, I was going to have Down syndrome. I was going to have all this stuff and problems with me, and he advised her to abort me. And that's the enemy working against me. And I wasn't even born yet, but the enemy was working against me, right? He was putting a plan in place to take me out before I was even born, right? And she was going to go through with it, but as being part of God's amazing plan, I have two very godly grandparents, my Grammy especially, my mother's mom, and she basically put her foot down and said, no, you're not doing it. It doesn't matter if he's born with Down syndrome, with a disability. It doesn't matter if he dies. She says, you leave his fate up to God. She said, it's God's choice what happens to him. You don't get to choose. You don't get to choose to take a child's life before it's born, before, he's had a chance. So you give him that chance, and you give him to God. And you let God take care of him. If he's destined to die, he's going to die. If he's going to live, he's going to live as God's. So you leave it up to him. And so, as you know, my mother didn't go through with it. Didn't listen to the doctor, and I was born, and contrary to what the doctor said and everything, I was born healthy with no disabilities or mental disorders, right? I was born perfectly healthy and fine. But the enemy at a young age tried to take me out. There was few accidents I had when I was younger, and I can see God's work in my life as I look back on it, because there was a few times when I was a kid, I did some stupid stuff. I hit a jump, and on my bicycle, being stupid as a, kid, and I wiped out, right? I wiped out bad, where I drove a bar, the steel handlebar had a piece of remote, right? I drove that into my chest, full weight, full speed, going down a hill, hit a jump, landed, drove that into my chest. I survived, It hurt. I thought I died. The doctors were amazed that I actually survived that impact, because they're like, how did he even survive? It should have crushed, your chest bone should have crushed it, should have drove it into my aorta and should have killed me, but it didn't. It just left a really nice bruise for a few weeks, and it hurt, and I have never jumped a bicycle again. And there's been also other ones in my adult life, especially when I went, like I said, even though I was a prodigal and I wandered for years, there's always a hand of God at work. He was always shielding me, always guiding me, and I didn't even know it. And like I said, I went so far from God, I mocked him and walked away. But even when I thought I was so far gone and walked away, God was letting me wander. But he was watching me. And anytime I had a situation that I would get into, there was always something that would come up. Something that would stop me from getting into that situation. Now, some people call this coincidence, or you're just lucky. You're just a luck. There's no luck. Okay, it's a divine plan by God. And after I had these other ones, when I started, like I said, 6 years ago, I rededicated to following God, where I believe I truly became born again. But I had a few accidents on the work sites around there and stuff where I should have died. I should have not survived. I slipped off a roof, and I should have fallen headfirst to the, pavement below and died. But I had a fellow worker reach out and grab me just in time. People say, oh, that's luck. No, that's called divine planning. And God intervened. And there's instances of that is where also, before I started following God, is another way the enemy decided to try and take me out. And that was, he got into my head and got me, depressed and all this, and he wanted me to take myself out. But as you know, that didn't pan out. God had a plan for that too. And as I'm standing here, I can look back and I see all these things that have happened, and all I can say is, glory to God. Like, it's God. I have no other explanation for that. The supernatural things that have happened, that, these accidents that should have put me down didn't. It had to be supernatural. It had to be God. There's no other explanation for it. I'm not lucky. Okay? It is just God's plan. And the enemy tried to take me out, and he doesn't know God's plans for your life. But what the enemy can do is he can see the potential, right? He can see what you have a chance of becoming if you keep following God's plan. He's going to do everything he can to stop you from doing that, right? He's going to throw everything, distractions, you name it. He's going to put everything he's got to keep you from walking that path and believing the scriptures and following God. And he tried numerous times, and he's tried to knock me off the path. I've been hit with trials and tribulations, and some of the time I have felt like, giving up, as most do. I felt like turning away, but then I realized the promise I made to God. I said, if you would save me and show me that you are real, that I would give you my life, that I would follow you and be yours until the time I die. And even as I share this, which is very nice, right? There's a rainbow over there. See it? The rainbow, because there's rain in the distance. It's raining over there, but still there's a rainbow. That shows you God is approving of me sharing this with you, is the way I look at it. Because that just appeared out of nowhere. It wasn't there before. It just appeared when I gave glory to God, and then rainbow appears, right? That just shows how it works. And this is a very personal thing I'm sharing, and I don't share it very often. Few people will watch this video and know this, but I don't share it with a lot of people. But I'm making a video about it because I want people to know that they have value. I want people to know that there is a plan for you. That you have a plan. Like I said, there's a plan. God has one for you. Now, some people could say, oh, that's just coincidence, that's lucky. They'll probably write it off as being some fairy tale or some thing I made up. But they're real life experiences, And the enemy tried to take me out at a young age. And I believe it's because he feared how God can use me. Because God can use anybody. And his plan for me, although the enemy doesn't know his plans fully, he will do whatever he can, take you out. And now it is raining. A brief shower. Look at that. And I'm in the open. Lovely. Well, anyways, side by side just went by and it's still raining, but you can see the rainbow better now. 2 of them. Look at that. There's one there and there's a second one. Yeah, double a rainbow. How is that? As I said, God has a plan for you. You have value. The enemy will try to stop you, but endure, keep going, and do not give up and do not give in. Because God has a plan and he will see it through. He that started a good work in you will finish that work in you. Said, once more, a good shot of the rainbows. This has been a Voice in the Wilderness, a soldier, bondservant of Christ, signing off. Whenever you see this, have a blessed day or night. Stay safe in these dark and crazy times. And I will see you in the next one.